Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Auset-heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who might like it too. And please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. Oh, and don't forget to stay to the end of the video because I have two really cool comments to read, and one of them might be one of your comments. Also, if you would like to get in touch with me, if you would like to get a reading done, if you'd like to ask a question, any general question, I will answer for free on Ask an Aquarius if your question is chosen. So please feel free to email me. Feel free to hit me up on social media. Also, underneath this video is everything else that you might want to find out about, like my Patreon page and my Ask an Aquarius merchandise. Okay? All right, guys, let's see what today's question is. Today, somebody said, is cheating a mistake or a choice? I've heard this kicked around a lot. Now, this was very interesting to me because this one came from a man. And it's quite a doozy. I'm going to tell you guys about it. This is a trip. The man told me that he is in a relationship with a woman. And he told me, I think he's a Libra. He's a Libra and she's a Sagittarius. And he told me that they've been together since they were in college. They got together, they were like 19 years old. When they got together in college, she had one child already. They got together. She got pregnant again with another child and gave birth, and they moved on with their lives. Now, mind you, that child I'm talking about is older now. That child is like 10 now. So recently, like last year, he said that something happened and the child needed some kind of transfusion. I think it was a blood transfusion. So the first thing that they did was test the family to see whose blood would match with the child to get the transfusion. His mother, his father, his brother, his sister, who in the family. I don't think the children were eligible. I think he said it was the adults. Anyway, so he said that some kind of way during the course of all this going on, it came out that he was not the child's father. That there was basically a 99% chance that someone else had fathered the little boy. Now, mind you, we're talking about 11 years later, okay? So he's raised this child. He has a relationship with this child. It's been, they've been together since college. I mean, it's been a long time. So when they sat down to talk about it, she said that it was a mistake. And he said to me, is cheating a mistake or a choice? Because this situation occurred, and he said it was last year when it hit the fan. And it really still hasn't been resolved. They're still kind of together. But he is very closed down. She is basically just apologetic. And he said to me, what do you think? He was like, is cheating a mistake or a choice? And I said, well, what did she say happened? And he said that she told him that she made a mistake. And he said, well, how did you make a mistake? And she said, basically, while they were dating, when they first started dating, and this is when she got pregnant, her ex, who was the first child's father, was talking to her about getting back together. And her and the new guy, the Libra, they weren't like serious at that point. The Libra was still seeing other people at his own admission. He was still seeing other people. They were starting, put it like that. And she was trying to decide, did she want to go back to her ex or did she want to try something new with the Libra? So one night he came over, they were intimate, and after they were intimate, she realized that she didn't want to be with him anymore. She realized that she was holding on to him because they had a child together. And she realized that she wanted to give the Libra a chance. So the next day, she didn't know she was pregnant. The next day, she, of course, it just happened. So the next day, she calls the Libra and she, talks to him and tells him that she wants to give their relationship a real chance. So the Libra's like, cool, okay. And then, boom, 30 days later, they find out she's pregnant. Now, because she slept with these two gentlemen so close in proximity, she didn't know which one of them was the father. She assumed the Libra was the father because I guess that's who she wanted to be the father. And so she just made that assumption. And when he was born, the little boy was born, he looked like her. He still looks just like her. So she really couldn't tell, which one of them was his father. And she says she never even really thought about it because she just assumed, because she only slept with the other guy one time. And we all know it only takes one time. But she only slept with him one time, and she slept with the Libra repeatedly. So she just assumed that it was his child. Now here we are 11 years later, and we find out that that's not the case. So she said that she made a mistake. She thought that she was going to get back with this guy. She spent the night with him, and she realized that it wasn't the right thing to do. So he said to me, is her infidelity a mistake or a choice? And the bottom line is that I don't care what the circumstances are. I don't care what it was. You made a choice. I'm not trying to hear mistake. A mistake is when you accidentally back your car into the garage. That's a mistake. You know what I'm saying? A mistake is when, you drop a dish in the kitchen and it breaks. That's a mistake. Deciding to call your ex and let him come over and then have an intimate evening with him was not a mistake. It was a choice. It was a choice that she regretted and that she ended, but it was a choice nonetheless. It's so funny to me how people will cheat and then try to act like, my bad, it was a mistake. You didn't just fall into the bed. You didn't fall into the sex. You made a choice. You made a bad choice, but you made a choice. And I feel like we have to own that, And I see a lot of people say this, men and women. They'll be like, I made a mistake. It meant nothing. I remember this man, I was watching the Frida Kahlo life story. Pretty good story. And the gentleman that she was married to all those years, his name was Diego. And at one point he kept cheating. He just kept cheating. And at one point in the movie, he said, it meant nothing. I've had handshakes this is what he said, I've had handshakes that had more feeling. And his wife and him would go, they would fight back and forth about it. She would leave him and come back, and he left her and came back. It was all this craziness to it. He slept with her sister, and then they ended up back together. It was crazy. It was a lot of craziness, a lot of back and forth. But the bottom line was that he said, it meant nothing. But the truth is, it did mean something, because basically you made a decision. You made a decision to deceive the person that you were seeing. Now, whether or not that person was faithful to you, because like I said with the Libra had messed around too. But it doesn't matter. You both made bad choices. It just so happens that her choice resulted in a child that they've been raising thinking it was his for 11 some years. So cheating is absolutely a choice. And I feel like one of the reasons how come a lot of people don't come back from cheating is because the other person won't just admit that they made that choice. And I've come to find that it's not just a one-time choice. It's not just I'm choosing to step out with this woman, or I'm choosing to step out with this man. Most cheaters, they choose to not be monogamous. That's the real choice, but they didn't tell you. That's the thing about cheaters. Most cheaters I've come across, they've made the decision that they don't want to be monogamous, they're not going to be monogamous, whatever the case is, but they don't let the other person in on that little tidbit of information. So the other person is thinking that they're monogamous or has the assumption of monogamy, and in reality, it never was that way. So I always tell people that's a conversation you need to have. When I meet somebody, we talk about that because there are different types of relationships in this world. So are you monogamous? Are you polyamorous? Are you into open relationships? Like, what exactly are you into? And a lot of people don't have that conversation. They just assume that the other person is going to be monogamous, and then all kinds of catastrophes occur. So my thing is that that's usually a life choice. They've decided they're not going to be monogamous. So my thing is, you don't have to be monogamous, especially not in 2020. You don't have to be monogamous at all, but you do have to be honest. So if you're going to be with somebody, then tell the truth. Like in the situation with this young lady, she could have told him that 11 years ago. She could have said that when she called. She said, I called him the next day and told him I wanted us to be together. She could have said right then and there, but she didn't. And why didn't she? Because she probably thought he would have been angry, or, it would have ruined the relationship. But truth be told, that was the best time, because now he finds out 11 years later and the relationship is ruined anyway. He, at this point, is considering never seeing her again, which means he would never see the children again because they're legally not his. So I'm just like, she should have just told the truth up front, and they could have dealt with that 11 years ago. A lot of times the situations I see people get into is because they refuse to just tell the truth. So let's take a look at our first comment. Palsy Paris says, love you, Queen. And in the Caribbean, St. Kitts, you remind me of me. I was born on the 10th of February. Well, hello, Palsy. If you're in St. Kitts in the Caribbean, you're not very far from me. I'm in Costa Rica. So you're a couple hours in that direction. So maybe one day I'll get to St. Kitts. That sounds like a fun place to hang out. I love when people tell me that I remind them of them, because that's the same thing I think, especially when I hear Aquarius talk. I'm like, wow, that reminds me of me. So that's really cool. Thank you for your shout out, sweetheart. All right. One more. Teresa Scott. Let's see what Teresa said. Teresa said, I observe people real good, but issues of the heart can be tricky. Yes. If you are an intuitive person, you can call the dice before they stop rolling. I mean, you know what's getting ready to happen. I'm like that all the time. But when it's a matter of the heart, when it's a person I care about, or when it's a love interest, this is why I'm not quick to have sex, because I know once I got feelings for a person, it's much harder to read them. It's much harder. I might be able to read them, but it might be just harder to accept what I'm reading, If I don't know the person like that, then it's easier to not care and just be like, okay, this is what I'm reading, and move on. But if I'm already into them, that makes it much harder. All right. Thanks so much for your comment. All right, guys, that was our last one. So we're going to get going. And please come back soon, because I have a lot more to say. See you later.